Help me reach 9,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. She came home from the gym glowing like she'd won a trophy, dropped her bag, opened the fridge, and talked over her shoulder like it was weather. Met someone today. New friend. He spotted me on squats. Total beast. Hilarious. We ended up doing a circuit. I swear I've never pushed that hard. I slid my coffee aside. Good for you. She added it casually, like sugar. He's a guy, by the way. Noted. He's just easy to be around, she went on, already headed for the pantry. You should meet him sometime. I watched her count protein bars, like that last sentence hadn't landed. I wasn't built to panic at every new name. We've been married 8 years. People exist. But the tone, like she was testing the ground and found it firm, stuck with me. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have cut it on day 1 instead of giving it rope. The next evening, she killed our dinner plans with 2 taps on her phone. I told Logan I'd hit the late class. He asked if I wanted to try sled pushes. He says I've got raw power, I just don't know it yet. So we're canceling? I leaned against the counter and moved her water bottle aside so it stopped leaving a ring. You can order something. I'll be back late. Don't wait up. That's 2 in a row, I noted. Monday was, I'll be quick, and you rolled in at 10. It's a gym, she said, like I was questioning the shape of a tree. Time moves. Time moves both ways, I countered. Let's be adults. 2 gym nights if you want to go hard. The other nights, we eat a meal like people who live together. Her mouth twisted. Don't start with rules. Boundaries, I corrected. We've had them since day 1. They're called plans. She shrugged, shoved the bottle in her bag. I'm not asking permission. It's fitness. You're making drama. I'm pointing out a cost, I said. You want to spend your week with your new coach, spend it. The house will run on a schedule that doesn't depend on your post-workout surprises. She rolled her eyes and left the cap loose so water dripped on the floor on her way out. I cleaned it and moved our dinners to containers. Then I moved my week. I put our shared calendar into 2 columns, joint/non-joint. If it wasn't marked jointly, I booked my own time. I stopped playing chauffeur to her evening plans and took a late meeting with a client I'd been pushing off. I'm not a hall monitor. I'm a builder. If something in my life leans, I shore it up or I take it down. 2 days later, our neighbor across the street waved at me as I pulled the trash to the curb. Big guy in a red hoodie was at your place, he called. Came by with a duffel. Nice fella. He asked if your dog bites. We don't have a dog, Carl. Right. He tapped his forehead. Figured he was a friend of yours. He wasn't mine. When she came home that night humming, I stood in the entry and waited for her shoes to line up. Hey, she said casual. You ate. Who was the guest? I kept my voice even. Red hoodie. Afternoon. She pretended to think. Oh, Logan dropped by to grab bands I ordered. I told him to swing past. You were at work. You invited a man I've never met into our house while I'm not here. He was in the kitchen for 5 minutes. Relax. New rule, I said, smooth as picking up a wrench. No guests here when I'm not home. Not because the sky is falling. Because respect starts at the door. She blew out air. You're jealous. I'm setting a lock. She gave me the kind of smile people use at a customer service counter when they think they can outlast you. Whatever you say. I changed the lock code that night. Not to keep him out. He didn't have it. But to remind myself the house is not a lobby. I also pulled our shared emergency key from under the planter and put it in the safe. She could buzz me if she needed. That's not punishment. That's control of my space. Saturday morning she softened, like I'd expected. Pancakes, bacon, the whole smell of a weekend movie. You're ridiculous, but I get it, she said, sliding a plate to me. I should have told you before he dropped by. I'm sorry. He pushes me. In a good way. I cut a piece. This apology is accepted. The rule stays. Fine. She pecked my cheek. Don't be mad. I'm not mad. I'm watching. We ate quietly, and she sent a quick message under the table she thought I didn't see. I wasn't going to police anything. I logged on to finish a project, then took the truck to the shop and stayed there until dark. A boundary isn't a monologue. It's a fork in a road. You pick yours and let the other person reveal who they are by which path they take. By midweek, her tone shifted from soft to sly. We were doing farmer carries, she said as she dumped a bag of spinach in a bowl. He says I have better grip than half the guys there. You could use it. Your hands are too soft from the laptop. I raised an eyebrow. We mocking now. Teasing, she's saying. You know, like couples do. Couples don't bring third parties into jokes, I replied. You want to compare? Bring me data, not a man with a stopwatch. She smirked. Oh, please. I didn't argue. I removed myself from that arena. I stopped asking how her workout went and stopped waiting on the couch like a doorman. When she texted at 9:30, I didn't read it until morning. My sleep got better. My appetite returned. Funny what happens when you stop treating your house like departures and arrivals. Friday, my crew had a barbecue behind the shop. I invited her, thought it might ground us in a space that wasn't rubber mats and chalk. She came late, hair still damp. She waved, but glued herself to her phone. My foreman, Mike, nudged me with the tongs. That her? He asked under his breath. That's her. Looks distracted, he murmured, eyes on his grill. You good? I will be, I said. She wandered over. I can't stay long. We're doing sleds on the track. Logan says I'm close to a time goal. And my work thing, I reminded her. This is just burgers, she replied. You do these all the time. Not about burgers. It's about priority. Don't make this a scene, she warned. You hate scenes. I hate disrespect. These are your people too. You don't want to be here, say that and go. But don't treat my life like a warm-up. You're overreacting. She pocketed her phone. I'll stay 20 minutes. Happy. Don't stay for me, I said. Decide for you. She stayed exactly 16 minutes and left after thanking no one. Mike handed me a beer I didn't want. She's got you on a stopwatch, he said. That's a choice. It is. I left the beer sealed and tossed the cap back in the cooler. That night, I put another rule on the table when she came in humming, a little flush of victory on her face. Logistics, I said. Starting next week, our budgets are separate. Bills split like we agreed. Discretionary on your side is yours, mine is mine. Calendar stays split too. Joint things get locked 2 weeks out. No last-minute overrides. Why are you doing this? She slid her shoes off without looking at me. We've always kept it fluid. Fluid is how you flood a basement, I said. I won't have my life run on other people's energy. She leaned on the island. This is punishment. It's a dam. She stared at me for a beat, then moved into that first softening I already saw once. She stepped in, wrapped her arms around my waist, and rested her chin lightly. No tears, no drama, just warmth. You're my husband, she said. Don't pull away. I'm your husband, I agreed. That's why I'm steering us out of the ditch. She held a beat longer, then nodded like she'd accept the new map. The next morning, she brought me coffee in an actual mug and asked about my project. She listened. She said she liked how I'd reworked the client's layout to save material. It felt like a recalibration. Monday, Carl waved again while I was loading lumber. Your wife has a busy social life, he said, chuckling. That guy in the red hoodie knows the dog now. We still don't have a dog, Carl. Right? He came by with smoothies. They looked happy. Hey, man, I'm just a mailbox with eyes. I thanked him and finished loading. At lunch, I drove to the gym. I don't like fishing in other ponds, but I wanted eyes on what I was dealing with. The place was open, music thumping. She was doing rows, focused, strong. Red hoodie stood behind her, calling reps at a comfortable distance. He was tall, square jaw, the kind of guy who's been captain of something at some point and never quite stopped. When she saw me, she lit up for half a second and then tightened. What are you doing here? She asked, grabbing her towel. Checking my schedule against yours, I said. I nodded at the man. You must be Logan. He offered his hand with the practiced confidence of a man who's been introducing himself a lot. Good to meet you. Likewise, I said, shake firm, eye contact steady. I came to set one thing straight. No hard feelings. I have one rule about the house. No guests when I'm not there. That includes you. He nodded like he was used to being the reasonable presence. Of course. Totally fair. She cut in. He's not a guest. He's my friend. He's still a guest in my house, I replied. That's my boundary. Logan lifted his hands. I respect that. She looked between us, irritated by the clean lines. Can we not do this here? We're doing it here because you ignored it there, I said. And because I'm not repeating myself again in the kitchen like a broken record. Logan shifted his weight. I'll give you guys a minute. No, I said. You're fine. I want witnesses. Keeps people honest. She put her hands on her hips. You're impossible. I'm explicit. There's a difference. I gave Logan a thin smile. Enjoy the workout. The rule stands. On my way out, she followed to the sidewalk. You embarrassed me, she hissed. You embarrassed us, I corrected. With the drop-ins and the jokes. I'm putting railings on a staircase you've been sprinting down blind. Step inside them or fall. Your pick. She didn't answer. She went back in, and I drove back to work and kept my hands busy until my head stopped ringing. 2 days later, I got the text that folded the map. I finally carved a real weekend for myself. Cleared the jobs, told Mike to run Saturday without me, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and imagined 2 days like we used to. Breakfast on the porch, a hike, maybe a matinee. I sent her a straight, simple message mid-afternoon. I've got the next 2 days completely open. Let's lock in dinner tonight and a day trip tomorrow. Just us. She replied a minute later. I'm with Logan tonight. We might grab a late film. Probably crashing at his place. Don't freak, it's not what you think. Please don't make it a thing. I read it twice, and once more to confirm I wasn't hallucinating. The words weren't even sharp. They were casual, like she was borrowing sugar. I typed without heat, without emojis, without the performative calm some people use to hide a shake. This night with your friend will cost you everything. If you don't walk back through our door tonight, tomorrow I end this. No drama. No second talk. She didn't answer. 20 minutes later, the door rang like it had a heartbeat. She stood on the mat, breathing hard from the run up the steps. Keys in her fist she didn't need anymore because I'd changed the code. Her hair was pulled into a loose knot. No makeup. No performance. What is wrong with you? She fired as she crossed into the hallway. You don't get to send ultimatums like that. That's control. It's clarity. I cut in. I don't compete for my own place in my house. You want to spend the night at another man's place. You just told me where I sit in your life. I'm not begging for a seat. I'm pushing away from the table. You're blowing this up, she insisted. We were going to watch a movie. I'd sleep on the couch. He's a good guy. We're just. Stop. I pointed to the living room. Sit. She froze, then sat. I stayed standing. Better angle, better air. You used to know how to care for this, I said, not raising my voice. The last month you replaced me like a bad subscription. You laugh with him, you plan around him, you host him in our kitchen when I'm not here. And then you toss me a heads up that you'll overnight. You think the problem is my reaction. The problem is your choices. Her eyes flicked, searching for a foothold. I didn't. I wasn't thinking like that. That's the point. I rubbed a spot on my jaw. Maybe nothing physical happened. Maybe you never even held his hand. But it doesn't matter. You prioritized him. You mocked what we have. You made me an afterthought. If he matters more, own it and pack a bag. If I matter, then the road back requires more than pancakes and a speech. She stared at me like I'd spoken a new language. Then something clicked and she stood abruptly and stepped in, arms around me with an urgency I hadn't felt in months. I love you, she said in a flat, simple way that, ironically, sounded real. I was wrong. I got carried away because it felt good to be pushed and seen. That's it. Nothing else happened. He really is just a friend. And him staying at your place on a couch is necessary because I was stupid, she said. Because I wanted to prove I could do whatever I wanted and have you be fine with it. That's on me. Let's fix it. Meet him. Meet his wife. He has one. Maya. She's with us most nights. I'll set it up. You can look them in the eye and hear it. You can line that up, I said. But hear me back. I'm not asking for a character reference. I'm measuring your respect. From now on, there's no gray zone. No, don't freak. If you choose distance, I match it. If you choose priority, I meet you there. She nodded quickly. I hear you. I'll set the dinner. I'll prove it. I want this. I want us. Tonight, I added, you're here. You're not texting him an apology. You're not warming a couch anywhere but ours. She slid her phone onto the table, face down, like placing a card. Fine. I slept in the guest room anyway. Not to punish. To reset. In the morning she brought coffee. No chatter. We worked in the yard. Then she sent a message and turned the screen so I could see the reply. Dinner, Tuesday, 7, at a quiet place 2 blocks from the gym. Logan and Maya would be there. At that dinner I met 2 people who, on paper, should have closed the loop. Logan shook my hand again with the same steady look. Maya had that calm authority some women carry without needing volume. She smiled at me like a host. Thanks for meeting us, she said. This has gotten awkward, and that's on all of us in some way. I'm here because I don't want your house carrying a cloud for a misunderstanding. Appreciate that, I replied. I kept my tone even, my face neutral. We ordered simple food. Logan talked about programming track runs and building a supportive community. Maya nodded and filled in blanks with real details. It sounded boring in the best way. She's with us most nights, Maya said, looking me in the eyes. Group workouts. Group hangs. I was there Saturday. I was there last Wednesday when you did that sled race, everyone cheered. I was filming. My wife glanced at me like she wanted the nod. What about Tuesday? I asked, careful. Maya paused. I had a late shift Tuesday. Logan shifted. We were at the field with two others. I can show you messages. I don't need messages, I said. I'm not a detective. I'm a man who needs his home quiet. Then let's make it quiet, Maya said. We'll keep it group only, and we'll respect your house. No more drops. Clear. Clear, I said. My wife reached under the table and squeezed my hand. It was the first honest attempt I'd seen in weeks. I let my hand stay. I wanted to believe because belief is lighter than suspicion. We ate. We paid separately. I was sticking to my damn. We walked to our cars. In the parking lot, my wife leaned against our hood. Can we stop fighting now? She asked, searching my face. You got what you needed. I got one piece, I answered. The rest is on us. Respect isn't a testimonial. It's daily. She nodded, came around the car, and for 2 days, she acted like she'd heard every word. She canceled one workout and suggested a movie at home. She curled up against me. She laughed at my dry comments like she used to. It was version 2 of the softening, bigger than pancakes, almost persuasive. Then came Sunday brunch at the neighbors, where I learned what she does when an audience helps her argument. We were on the patio. Carl was telling a story about his mailbox again. Someone asked if we had summer trip plans. Before I could answer, she jumped in. We have to check his spreadsheet, she joked to the table, tapping my shoulder. He audits my calendar now. A couple of polite laughs. Then she added, he got threatened by my gym buddy and turned into the time police. It's cute, in a way. Heads turned to me. That's a point where some men swallow, smile, and let it pass to keep the peace. That's not me. I picked up my coffee, took a sip, and set it down. I don't audit anything, I said to the group. I don't police anyone. I stopped rearranging my life to accommodate other people's whims. If you call that control, you've never had your boundaries respected. The table went quiet, not unkindly. Carl cleared his throat. Time's valuable, he muttered, supportive in his own way. My wife forced a smile and looked away. On the walk home, she said, without looking at me, you really had to do that there? I said what was true, I responded. You made it public. I finished it public. She shook her head like I was the one with the performance problem. You just embarrassed me lately. I stopped shielding you from consequences, I said. That's different. The next week she slid again, back to late nights and small jabs. We're doing an outdoor circuit. Became, we're grabbing tacos. We're grabbing tacos. Became, I'm crashing at Maya's, said too smooth, like she knew the name insulated it. I didn't argue. I executed. I moved my clothes from our closet to the guest room permanently and upgraded that room into my base. New lock on the inside. Small safe. My own calendar on the wall. I moved my tools to the shop full-time and cut home projects off my list. I called the bank and enforced the separate cards we'd always said we'd keep for flexibility. I didn't make speeches. I left a single note on the fridge. I'm not living under your plans. If you want this marriage, you'll show it with respect for space, time, and home. Otherwise, I will leave clean. When she came in that night and saw the note, she stood in the hallway staring at the guest room door like it spoke. She knocked once, then opened it without waiting. You're really doing this? I already did it, I answered, looking up from my notebook. I'm not angry. I'm done being optional. She braced her arms on the doorframe. You think you can scare me into compliance? I'm not scaring anyone. I'm mapping my exit. Don't do this, she said. And for a flicker there was the girl I married, direct, proud, and stubborn in a way I used to admire. We had dinner. We fixed it. We had dinner, and you treated it like a jury verdict in your favor, I said. You forgot the daily work. You forgot I watch what you do more than what you say. I brought you coffee, she fired back, desperate enough to say something flimsy. You also brought a man into our kitchen when I wasn't here, told me you'd be on another man's couch, then mocked me in front of neighbors. I listed. The average of those is not respect. She looked at the floor, then up. So that's it. You're out. I'll be out by the end of the month, I said. I'll handle my side of the bills until then so you're not left in a mess. The house will be yours if you want it. It won't be my home. You're throwing us away over ego. I'm protecting my spine. She left the door open behind her and walked to our room. I heard drawers. I heard silence. I lay back and closed my eyes, not to sleep, but to mark the moment I stopped negotiating with someone who kept moving the scoreboard. 2 days later, she tried one last grand softening. She booked a cabin I'd mentioned months ago, sent me the link, added heart emojis she never used. Let's reset, she wrote. No phones. Just us. I replied with the same quiet clarity I'd been carrying. I'm not interested in resets. I'm interested in respect. The first can be scheduled. The second has to be lived. My lease starts on the first. She didn't respond. That night she came into the guest room and sat down without asking. I thought if I pushed, you'd chase, she said, looking at the baseboard instead of me. That if you got jealous, it would prove something. I liked the attention. It felt good to be chosen in a different room. I didn't think about how it looked from here. I didn't care. That's the part that's ugly. I nodded. It wasn't an apology. It was an autopsy. Useful for understanding cause of death. Useless for bringing anything back. I don't hate you, I said. I'm just not willing to be second in my own life. You wanted power. You got it. Now sit with it. She stood. So we're done. We're done, I confirmed. She walked to the door and paused. Will you tell people I did something wrong? I'll tell them I chose out when respect left the building, I said. If they ask for details, I'll say none. This isn't a sport. No crowd, no commentary. On the last day of the month, I loaded the last box into the truck. No grand scenes. No yelling. No slamming. I put the key on the counter. She sat at the table, arms folded, trying not to ask me to stay. In her silence was the same pride that had kept this going longer than it should have. At least say something, she finally pushed. I looked around the kitchen we'd painted together, the scuff on the baseboard where we'd dragged a stool, the mark on the fridge from a magnet we lost. I don't compete for my place in a home, I said, the same line I'd used when I drew the first line. You'll remember that even if you forget everything else. I left with my truck heavy and my mind light. The shop felt cleaner than it had in months when I pulled in. Mike leaned in the doorway and nodded once. No speech, just a look that said he'd watched men do this and stay standing. A year later, I'm in a different house 5 miles away with a yard that needs less work and a garage that fits the lines in my head. The office at the shop became mine after the boss retired. I took the partnership, then the whole thing. Business is good because I stopped bleeding energy into a fight that wasn't a fair one. I bought a used boat that runs enough weekends to matter. On Thursdays, I meet 3 guys for poker and we laugh like it's a workout for the lungs. I don't ask permission to exist. I never did, but now I don't pretend to. There's a woman I see who knows how to say no and thank you with the same calm tone. She doesn't test. She doesn't collect points by making me chase. We both have lives that don't need saving, which is the only way 2 people should meet. As for my ex, I hear things the way you do in a town like ours. Carl mentioned one morning that he doesn't see the red hoodie anymore, and the porch light across the street burns later than it used to. The gym crowd moved on. That's what crowds do. The house looks the same but colder somehow, like a hotel room after checkout. I don't gloat. I don't check in. I don't parade my better days past her window. I kept one lesson, and it keeps me. Respect isn't a speech. It's a calendar, a door code, a seat at your own table. When someone treats that seat like first come first serve, you don't fight strangers for it. You pick up your chair and you walk out. And you don't look back to see who sits down. Friends, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you haven't yet. It really helps us. Also, share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to read them.